The laughter was gone. After his wife's passing, John's backyard, once a symphony of childish glee, had fallen silent. His two kids, Sarah and Ben, were retreating into their screens, losing the spark he remembered. John, a single dad with a carpenter's hands and a heart full of worry, knew he had to do something. He started hauling junk, discarded tires, old wooden crates, frayed ropes, anything he could find. He began to build, transforming his neglected backyard into a chaotic, colorful, homemade obstacle course, a desperate plea to rekindle their joy. He had no idea this raw, unpolished creation, born from grief and love, would be seen by the right eyes, catapulting his family into a world of national campaigns and unexpected fame. He didn't know the silent observer next door held the key to a future he couldn't imagine, but it all began with a father's love and a pile of discarded junk. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. The silence of the backyard was a heavy cloak, muffling the usual sounds of chirping birds and distant neighborhood chatter. It had been like this for months, ever since the laughter faded, ever since the swing set stood idle and the once vibrant patch of lawn began to surrender to weeds. John, a single dad whose hands were more accustomed to the precise cut of lumber than the delicate touch of a nurturing parent, felt the weight of that silence acutely. His wife, Clara, had been the vibrant heart of their home, the one who filled every corner with warmth and joy. Her sudden passing had left a gaping void, not just in his own life, but in the lives of their two children, 10-year-old Sarah and 8-year-old Ben. Sarah, once a whirlwind of creative energy, now spent most of her time hunched over a tablet, her bright eyes dulled by the glow of the screen. Ben, usually a boisterous explorer, had retreated into the quiet world of video games, his boundless energy channeled into virtual adventures rather than real ones. John watched them, his heart aching with a mixture of helplessness and a fierce, protective love. He saw the subtle slump in their shoulders, the way their conversations grew shorter, less animated. The backyard, once a vibrant stage for their childhood imagination, had become a stark reminder of what they had lost. He tried, of course. He cooked their favorite meals, helped with homework, read bedtime stories with a voice that sometimes cracked with unshed tears. But he knew it wasn't enough. They needed something more, something that would reignite the spark he remembered, the joyful exuberance that had been Clara's greatest gift to them. He needed to get them moving again, to rediscover the simple, unadulterated thrill of physical play. The idea, when it finally struck him, was born from a frustrated glance at his own sagging muscles and the forgotten tools in his shed. John was a carpenter, his hands skilled, his mind practical. He could build things. And as he looked around his own neglected backyard, his gaze fell upon a stack of discarded tires he had collected for a long-abandoned gardening project. Then, his eyes landed on a pile of old wooden crates he had used for storage, and a coil of thick, unused rope gathering dust in the corner of the shed. Junk, yes. But his mind, ever the builder's mind, began to see shapes, possibilities. He started small, one Saturday morning, fueled by strong coffee and a desperate hope. He hauled the tires into a corner of the yard, arranging them in a zigzag pattern. He then took an old, sturdy wooden pallet, propped it up on two smaller crates, creating a makeshift balance beam. His hands, though calloused, moved with a surprising tenderness as he envisioned his children navigating these simple structures. He hammered, he sawed, he measured, the familiar rhythm of creation, a welcome distraction from the heavy silence of his thoughts. Sarah and Ben, initially curious, watched him from the patio door, their faces devoid of their usual screen-time stupor. Their eyes, usually fixed on digital landscapes, now traced the outlines of the growing contraptions in their backyard. "Dad, what are you doing?" Ben asked, his voice a little hesitant, breaking the long-held silence of the yard. "Building something," John replied, a genuine smile touching his lips for the first time in days. "Something fun, something for us." He continued to build over the next few weekends, waking before dawn, working until his muscles ached and the sun dipped below the horizon. He scavenged for materials, visiting construction sites, asking neighbors for their discarded items. Old plastic barrels became tunnels. Lengths of sturdy PVC pipe, salvaged from a plumbing renovation, became hurdles. A strong, thick tree branch, carefully positioned between two sturdy trees, became the anchor for a rope climb. Each addition was meticulously planned, each connection securely fastened. He painted some of the elements in bright, primary colors, transforming the dull junk into something vibrant and inviting. The backyard, piece by piece, was shedding its somber skin and beginning to hum with a new, exciting energy. His goal wasn't perfection or even aesthetic appeal. It was function. It was a place for his kids to jump, climb, crawl, and swing. It was a tangible expression of his desire to see them laugh again, to see their bodies move with the effortless grace of childhood. He wasn't thinking about anything beyond their small, contained world, a desperate attempt to bring back a flicker of the joy that had been lost. He certainly wasn't thinking about national campaigns or fitness entrepreneurs. His world was just his backyard, his children, and the silent, hopeful prayer that this makeshift course would be enough. The transformation of the backyard was a slow, deliberate unveiling, a mosaic of reclaimed materials, meticulously assembled under John's skilled hands. What began as a desperate plea to rekindle joy had evolved into a passion project, a physical manifestation of his love and longing to see his children truly alive again. The once somber space, dominated by overgrown grass and the ghosts of past laughter, was now a vibrant, slightly chaotic landscape of repurposed treasures. The tire run, a winding path of old truck tires laid flat and secured, invited agile footwork. Beyond it, a low crawling tunnel fashioned from several large plastic drainage pipes, painted in alternating stripes of bright blue and yellow, offered a challenge in claustrophobic maneuvering. He had built a modest, yet sturdy, A-frame climbing wall, from salvaged plywood, studded with colorful, repurposed rock climbing holds made from carved scrap wood and old bicycle pedals. A cargo net, acquired from a defunct fishing boat, hung from a sturdy branch of the old oak tree, leading to a precarious, swinging rope bridge crafted from sturdy ropes and small wooden planks. Every element, every piece of junk, had been imbued with a new purpose, a playful spirit. The air, once heavy with unspoken grief, now vibrated with a different kind of energy, anticipation. Sarah and Ben, initially hesitant observers, had become increasingly curious, their faces pressed against the window pane, their eyes tracking John's every move. He noticed the subtle shift in their posture, the way their shoulders seemed to loosen, a faint excitement replacing the quiet detachment that had plagued them for months. Finally, one crisp Saturday morning, the obstacle course was complete. John, covered in sawdust and grime, stood back, surveying his handiwork. It wasn't a pristine, professionally designed park, but it pulsed with a raw, authentic charm, a testament to ingenuity and sheer determination. He wiped his hands on his jeans and called out, his voice hoarse from effort but warm with invitation. "All right, champions, it's ready." Sarah and Ben burst out the back door, their eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and exhilaration. They ran towards the course, their bare feet instinctively navigating the familiar uneven ground of their backyard. They touched the cool metal of the tires, ran their hands over the rough wood of the crates, their fingers tracing the colorful painted designs. "Whoa, Dad! This is amazing!" Ben yelled, his voice echoing with genuine excitement, the sound a sweet melody to John's ears. He immediately tried to navigate the tire run, his small legs pumping, his giggles bubbling up as he stumbled playfully. Sarah, a little more cautious, approached the climbing wall, her brow furrowed in concentration. She tested a handhold, then another, her movements deliberate. Her initial hesitation gave way to a determined grin as she began to ascend, her small muscles straining. John watched them, a profound sense of relief washing over him. Their faces were alive again, flushed with exertion and pure, unadulterated joy. Their laughter, a sound he had desperately missed, filled the air, mingling with their excited shouts as they conquered each obstacle. It was the music of a family slowly healing, finding its rhythm again. He joined them, demonstrating a tricky maneuver on the rope bridge, his own body feeling a welcome ache of activity. He was no athlete, but he found himself laughing with them, encouraging their attempts, cheering their small victories. Unbeknownst to them, a pair of eyes was watching from the pristine, manicured backyard next door. Mark Davies, a man whose life revolved around precision and carefully curated success, usually spent his Saturday mornings reviewing quarterly reports or engaging in high-intensity workouts. He was the founder and CEO of Peak Performance, a rapidly expanding fitness brand known for its sleek, high-tech athletic gear and its motivational, almost aspirational marketing campaigns. His own backyard, a minimalist expanse of perfectly trimmed lawn and designer outdoor furniture, was a stark contrast to John's vibrant, chaotic creation. Mark had recently moved into the upscale neighborhood, his demanding schedule leaving little time for neighborhood mingling. He was vaguely aware of his quiet neighbor, John, the single dad. He sometimes saw him coming and going, a perpetually tired but earnest figure. He certainly hadn't paid much attention to the gradual accumulation of junk in John's backyard, but this morning, the sounds of unbridled childish joy had caught his attention. He looked over his fence, drawn by the shouts and laughter. What he saw surprised him. A homemade obstacle course, crude yet remarkably effective, teeming with vibrant energy. The sight of Sarah scrambling over a wooden crate, her face alight with triumph, and Ben belly-crawling through a plastic pipe, his giggles echoing loudly, was genuinely captivating. Then, Mark's own son, 7-year-old Alex, burst through their back door. Alex, a quiet, studious boy who preferred books and building blocks to rough-and-tumble play, was usually content in his own carefully curated world. But today, his eyes were wide with a curious fascination, drawn by the pure, unadulterated fun emanating from next door. "Dad, what's that?" Alex asked, pointing a hesitant finger over the fence. "Can I go?" Mark, surprised by his son's rare display of spontaneous interest in physical activity, found himself intrigued. Alex, usually so reserved, was leaning forward, a spark of genuine excitement in his eyes. "All right, Alex," Mark said, a rare, unbidden smile touching his lips. He walked towards the fence, a professional curiosity beginning to stir. He was a man who understood branding, marketing, and the power of aspiration. And what he saw next door, in that messy, joyful backyard, was pure, unadulterated inspiration. He saw authenticity, ingenuity, and a powerful, raw connection. He saw a father building more than just an obstacle course. He saw him building a bridge back to joy for his children. He had no idea how deeply this simple, impromptu scene would resonate with his own brand's philosophy, or how it would catapult John's makeshift course into a national movement. He only knew, with a sudden, startling clarity, that he needed to know more about the single dad next door. The unexpected arrival of Alex, Mark's son, was the first ripple in what would become a tidal wave of change for John and his family. Mark, a man whose professional life revolved around calculated moves and strategic alliances, found himself genuinely captivated by the raw authenticity of John's backyard. He wasn't just observing. He was witnessing a primal scene of parental love and innocent joy, a stark contrast to the highly polished, often sterile, world of professional fitness. "Hey there!" John called out, noticing Alex hovering shyly by the fence. He gestured warmly. "Come on over if you like. Plenty of room for another adventurer." Alex, emboldened by his father's rare nod of permission, scampered through the small gate separating the 2 yards. He was initially hesitant, observing Sarah and Ben as they navigated the course with practiced ease. But the infectious laughter of John's children and the sheer inviting chaos of the handmade obstacles quickly drew him in. Soon, Alex was tentatively attempting the tire run, his movements a little clumsy, but his face alight with a shy smile. Mark watched, a subtle shift occurring within him. He saw Alex, usually so engrossed in his quiet pursuits, now grunting with effort as he clambered over a wooden crate, his usually pale cheeks flushed with exertion. It was a genuine, unforced engagement with physical activity, something he, as a fitness brand founder, had always strived to promote, but often through sophisticated campaigns and high-tech equipment. Here, it was simply happening, organically, powered by imagination and repurposed junk. Over the next few weeks, Alex became a regular fixture in John's backyard. He joined Sarah and Ben in their daily adventures on the obstacle course, his initial shyness melting away to reveal a surprising competitiveness and a newfound love for outdoor play. John, despite his initial reserve, found himself enjoying Alex's presence, seeing his own children flourish in their role as guides and playmates. The backyard, now a vibrant hub of activity, resonated with the joyful cacophony of 3 children exploring, challenging themselves, and forging unexpected friendships. Mark, too, found himself drawn to the spontaneous energy next door. He would often find excuses to be in his own backyard, ostensibly working on his laptop, but subtly observing the play. He saw John, patiently guiding Alex on the rope climb, cheering Sarah as she conquered the climbing wall, and laughing heartily as Ben tumbled good-naturedly from a makeshift balance beam. He saw a father fully present, fully engaged, nurturing a genuine love for movement in his children, a stark contrast to his own often distracted parenting due to his demanding career. The professional curiosity that had initially sparked within Mark began to evolve into something more profound. He recognized the raw, untapped potential in what John had created. It wasn't about expensive equipment or sculpted physiques. It was about accessibility, fun, and the inherent human joy of movement. It was about active fatherhood, a concept he himself had struggled with in his relentless pursuit of professional success. One afternoon, as John was reinforcing a wobbly part of the cargo net, Mark approached the fence, a thoughtful expression on his face. "John," he began, his voice surprisingly gentle, shedding the polished corporate tone he usually employed. "I've been watching what you've built here. It's truly remarkable." John, wiping sweat from his brow, looked up, a little surprised by the direct approach. "Oh, hey, Mark. Thanks. Just trying to keep the kids entertained, you know?" "Entertained, yes," Mark agreed, a faint smile touching his lips. "But it's more than that, isn't it? You've created something special, something authentic. My son, Alex, he hasn't been this engaged with physical activity, ever." John shrugged modestly. "Just using what I had. And the kids, they love it." "They do," Mark affirmed. He paused, collecting his thoughts. This was a deviation from his usual script, a step into uncharted territory. "John, I run Peak Performance, a fitness brand. We're always looking for innovative ways to promote active lifestyles, especially for families. And what you've done here, with repurposed materials, fostering creativity and active play, it's incredibly compelling." End quote. John listened, bewildered. "A fitness brand? His jump pile?" "I have an idea," Mark continued, his voice gaining a familiar entrepreneurial edge, but tempered with genuine enthusiasm. "What if we took what you've built here, this concept of a homemade, accessible obstacle course, and turned it into something bigger? A national campaign. The Backyard Challenge, perhaps. We could sponsor events, provide blueprints for families, promote active fatherhood, show that you don't need expensive gyms or fancy equipment to get kids moving and create meaningful moments." John stared at him, dumbfounded. A national campaign? His ramshackle course, built from tires and crates, on a national stage? It was an absurd, fantastical notion, light years away from his quiet world of carpentry and single parenthood. I don't know, Mark," John stammered, grappling with the sheer scale of the proposal. "I'm just a carpenter. This was just for my kids." "And that's precisely its power, John," Mark insisted, his eyes alight with vision. "It's authenticity. It's relatability. It's not about perfection. It's about connection, about resourcefulness, about a father's love. My brand, Peak Performance, we could provide the resources, the marketing, the platform. You, John, you provide the heart. We could make this a movement. Imagine the impact." John looked from Mark to his children, now giggling as they attempted a synchronized jump over a small hurdle. He saw the genuine smiles on their faces, the uninhibited joy in their movements. He thought of Clara, and the silent grief that had almost consumed them. This accidental creation, born from a desperate desire to heal, had already brought so much light back into their lives. Could it, truly, reach beyond their backyard, inspiring other families, perhaps even helping other dads like him find a path back to active engagement with their children? The idea, once unfathomable, began to take root, a seed of possibility in his exhausted but hopeful mind. He still felt a profound sense of disbelief, but beneath it, a powerful, undeniable pull. This wasn't just about his family anymore. This was about something bigger. He was a single dad who turned junk into a playground, unaware his neighbor was a fitness entrepreneur. Now, that same neighbor was offering to turn his simple act of love into a national campaign, a movement promoting active fatherhood. He still didn't fully grasp the magnitude of the journey ahead, but he knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his bones, that he couldn't say no. The initial meeting between John and the core team at Peak Performance was a jarring experience, a collision of two vastly different worlds. John, accustomed to the raw, tangible realities of carpentry, found himself in a sleek, minimalist boardroom, surrounded by sharp suits, gleaming technology, and the hushed intensity of high-stakes corporate EMI. Strategizing. Mark, ever the visionary, led the presentation, his voice resonating with passion as he outlined the Backyard Challenge campaign. He used phrases like synergy, market penetration, and authentic brand narrative, terms that initially flew over John's head. However, as Mark projected images of John's backyard obstacle course, showcasing the children's unbridled joy, and eloquently spoke about the power of accessible, family-centric fitness, John began to understand. He might not speak their language, but he recognized the genuine enthusiasm for the spirit of what he had created. He saw the potential for his simple, heartfelt project to reach millions, to inspire other fathers and families, especially those who felt disconnected from the intimidating world of commercial fitness. The team, initially skeptical of the carpenter-next-door approach, quickly warmed to John's quiet sincerity and the undeniable charm of his children, who joined him for a brief, impromptu video call. Sarah and Ben, initially shy, animatedly described their favorite obstacles, their innocent enthusiasm proving to be the most powerful marketing tool of all. The campaign, christened the Backyard Challenge, Build, Play, Connect, quickly took shape. Peak Performance committed significant resources, a dedicated marketing team, a budget for materials and event logistics, and a commitment to ensuring John's vision remained at the core of the initiative. John, now officially an ambassador for Peak Performance, would serve as the face of the campaign, traveling to launch events, leading workshops, and sharing his story. He would also be directly involved in the design and development of standardized, yet customizable blueprints for backyard obstacle courses, ensuring they remain true to the spirit of ingenuity and brass. Affordability. The first major public event was held in a large urban park, transformed into a sprawling, vibrant demonstration of the Backyard Challenge. John, with the help of a small team, had meticulously recreated elements of his own course, alongside new, scalable designs. There were tire runs, low crawls, balance beams, and rope climbs, all built from repurposed materials and designed for various age groups and skill levels. The turnout was overwhelming. Hundreds of families, drawn by the viral story and Peak Performance's extensive marketing, flocked to the park. Children, their eyes wide with excitement, immediately swarmed the course, their laughter echoing through the trees. Parents, initially hesitant, soon found themselves joining in, rediscovering the simple joy of active play with their children. John, initially nervous about the public spotlight, found his footing surprisingly quickly. He wasn't a charismatic orator, but his genuine warmth and practical approach resonated deeply. He demonstrated techniques, offered encouragement, and shared anecdotes from his own backyard adventures with Sarah and Ben. He spoke from the heart about the importance of being present, of finding creative ways to connect with children, even when resources were scarce. "It's not about having the fanciest equipment," John told a group of captivated parents, his voice sincere. "It's about having fun. It's about getting outside. It's about being together. You don't need a gym, you just need a little imagination and whatever you can find." Mark, observing from a distance, watched with a quiet satisfaction. This was more than a marketing campaign. It was a movement. He saw the tangible impact John was having, inspiring fathers, reigniting family connections. He saw children, initially glued to screens, now sweating, laughing, and building resilience. He saw his own son, Alex, now confidently navigating the course alongside Sarah and Ben, his face beaming with unbridled joy. The campaign quickly gained national traction. Media coverage was overwhelmingly positive, highlighting the authentic, heartwarming narrative behind the Backyard Challenge. Fitness influencers, parenting bloggers, and educational institutions championed the initiative, praising its accessibility and its focus on holistic family well-being. Schools began to implement their own Backyard Challenge clubs, utilizing John's blueprints to create low-cost, engaging play spaces. John's life, once defined by quiet struggle, was now filled with purpose and a profound sense of contribution. The financial security afforded by his partnership with Peak Performance meant he no longer worried about bills or Leo's medical expenses. He could provide for his children, ensuring their future was brighter than his past. But more importantly, he was part of something bigger, something that was genuinely making a difference. He still reserved time for his carpentry, finding solace in the familiar scent of sawdust and the rhythmic work of his hands. He built a new, larger shed in his backyard, a dedicated workshop where he could continue to create, to prototype new obstacle elements, and to find new ways to repurpose discarded materials. His relationship with Mark, initially a professional alliance, had evolved into a genuine friendship. They often shared coffee over the fence, discussing campaign strategies, but also talking about their children, their lives, and the unexpected twists of fate that had brought them together. Mark, inspired by John's example, had consciously begun to prioritize family time, realizing that true peak performance wasn't just about physical prowess, but about nurturing meaningful connections. One evening, as the sun set, casting long shadows across John's now iconic backyard obstacle course, he watched Sarah and Ben, along with Alex, still energetically navigating the elements, their laughter echoing in the aura. Twilight. He saw their strong, healthy bodies, their bright, curious eyes, their uninhibited joy. He remembered the silence that had once hung heavy in this very space, the grief that had threatened to consume them. And then, he looked at the course, the tires, the crates, the ropes, each piece a testament to his desperation, his ingenuity, and his unwavering love. It was a monument to resilience, a physical embodiment of hope. He, a simple carpenter, had turned junk into a playground. And in doing so, he had, quite unaware, built a bridge to a new future. Not just for his own family, but for countless others, inspiring them to build, to play, and to connect, one backyard at a time. The story, truly, was still being written, one joyful leap and triumphant climb at a time. The initial whirlwind of the Backyard Challenge, build, play, connect, had settled into a steady, impactful rhythm. John, now a familiar and beloved face across the nation, found himself balancing his responsibilities as the campaign's ambassador with his unwavering commitment to his children. The core message, born from his simple act of love, resonated deeply. You don't need expensive gear or elite training to foster active, joyful play. All you need is imagination, a willingness to repurpose, and a desire to connect with your kids. The initiative expanded rapidly. Peak Performance, seeing the immense goodwill and genuine public engagement, invested further. They developed downloadable blueprints and instructional videos, featuring John himself, demonstrating how to build various obstacle course elements using readily available, recycled materials. These resources were freely accessible online, empowering families of all income levels to create their own backyard challenges. Workshops led by John and a growing team of certified instructors became regular occurrences in parks, schools, and community centers, teaching practical skills and fostering a spirit of DIY creativity. Sarah and Ben, now in their preteen years, remained deeply involved. They often accompanied John to workshops, acting as junior coaches, demonstrating techniques, and sharing their personal experiences of growing up with a homemade obstacle course. Their confidence blossomed, their early grief replaced by a vibrant energy and a profound appreciation for their father's ingenuity. Leo, in particular, with his improving health, developed an unexpected talent for demonstrating the more complex maneuvers, inspiring younger children with his agility and infectious enthusiasm. The campaign's success led to unexpected opportunities for John. Major educational publishers approached him to co-author books on creative play and sustainable living. He was invited to speak at national parenting conferences, sharing his unique perspective on fostering active childhoods in an increasingly digital world. His message was simple, yet profound. The greatest gift you can give your children is your time and your presence. His relationship with Mark Davies deepened beyond professional collaboration. They often spent evenings discussing not just the campaign, but also the complexities of single parenthood, the challenges of balancing work and family, and the profound shifts in their own perspectives since John's CREF backyard project began. Mark, inspired by John's grounded approach, began to reevaluate Peak Performance's own brand messaging, shifting it to be more inclusive, less intimidating, and more focused on the joy of movement rather than just elite performance. He launched internal initiatives at his company, encouraging employees to engage in active fatherhood and to volunteer for community programs. One particular success story emerged from a small, rural town hit hard by economic downturn. A group of parents, inspired by the Backyard Challenge blueprints, came together to transform a neglected community lot into a vibrant, multi-generational obstacle park using donated and scavenged materials. John visited the site for its grand opening, overwhelmed by the sight of children, teenagers, and even grandparents navigating the course, their laughter echoing through the revitalized space. He saw tangible proof that his simple idea could bring communities together, fostering resilience and joy. However, with increased visibility came new challenges. While the vast majority of the feedback was overwhelmingly positive, a small but vocal minority of critics emerged. Some argued that the homemade aspect lacked the safety standards of professionally built playgrounds, raising concerns about liability. Others, from the more elite fitness industry, dismissed the initiative as too simple, not rigorous enough, or even anti-progress in its focus on repurposed materials rather than high-tech equipment. John, initially disheartened by the negativity, found strength in Mark's unwavering support and the countless heartfelt testimonials from families whose lives had been positively impacted. Anya, his sharp cousin and legal advisor, swiftly addressed any legitimate safety concerns by helping establish clear guidelines and disclaimers for the blueprints, emphasizing parental supervision and proper construction techniques. She also countered the more cynical critiques with data on increased physical activity rates and improved family engagement. John, Anya advised during a particularly challenging week, "Your story resonates because it's real. Don't let a few cynical voices overshadow the thousands you're inspiring. Authenticity is your superpower." He remembered her words, focusing on the smiles, the laughter, and the genuine connections he witnessed at every workshop and event. He knew the true value of what he was doing, and it wasn't measured in profit margins or celebrity endorsements, but in the rekindled spark in a child's eyes, the renewed bond between a parent and child, and the vibrant hum of communities coming alive through shared play. As the years continued to roll by, the obstacle course in John's own backyard, now a beloved landmark in the neighborhood, underwent its own gentle evolution. Elements were replaced as they wore out, new challenges added based on Leo and Sarah's growing abilities, and it remained a constant source of joy, not just for them, but for neighborhood kids who still flocked to it. It was a living, breathing testament to its humble origins and the enduring power of a father's love. John often sat on his porch swing, watching the setting sun cast long shadows over the familiar landscape of tires, crates, and ropes. He thought about Clara and the silent grief that had once enveloped them. He felt her presence in the laughter, in the vibrant energy that now filled their home. He knew she would have loved this unexpected legacy born from his struggle. He remembered the day he first started building, the heavy silence, the desperate hope. He had simply wanted to see his children laugh again. He had turned junk into a playground, completely unaware that his neighbor, a fitness entrepreneur, would see in it the spark for a national movement. He had no idea the journey would lead him here, to a life of purpose, surrounded by laughter and the quiet satisfaction of knowing he had not only rebuilt his own family, but had helped countless others do the same. His story, the single dad who turned junk into a backyard obstacle course, had become a powerful narrative of resilience, creativity, and the enduring magic of connection. The echoes of children's laughter, now multiplied by thousands across the nation, were his greatest reward.